Welcome to Daily Harmony.
Great to be back.
Today we're taking a deep dive into Lesson 201 of A Course in Miracles. The lesson is, I trust my brothers who are one with me.
A powerful one. It's actually a review of Lesson 181, reinforcing that core theme.
Exactly. And our mission here is to really get into what that means. Trusting others, yes, but how that trust is maybe a mirror, reflecting something bigger.
A deeper trust, right? Trust in the divine or God, however you frame it.
Right. The lesson suggests that this trust isn't just polite, it stems from recognizing we're all fundamentally connected, our shared nature.
That unity, yeah.
So today we'll explore, how this trust works in relationships, this whole idea of unity, how it might maybe help us overcome fear and anxiety. And this concept, the Course talks about shared holiness, or that shared inner light.
Okay, so let's start right there with the central theme, trust in unity.
Yeah.
Lesson 201 really hammers this home. It says, look, the way to trust others is to see that fundamentally you are one with them.
It's not just nice to trust, it's recognizing a reality.
Precisely. It's less about effort, like you're forcing yourself to trust someone sketchy, and more about acknowledging, oh wait, underneath it all, we're connected. That's the foundation.
And from that foundation, peace and, real connection can actually grow. It's not just wishful thinking.
Right. It changes the dynamic.
Okay, so building on that, the lesson also links this trust very directly to forgiveness and healing.
Ah, yes.
Crucial link.
It says trust isn't just, helpful for forgiving someone. It's essential for it to be real, for it to actually work. How does that work? How does seeing someone as one with me fundamentally change how we even approach forgiveness?
Well, think about the Course's view on conflict. It often stems from this deep-seated belief that we're all separate.
Little islands, right?
Vulnerable.
Yeah, that feeling of isolation.
Exactly. And the Course calls that an illusion. So trust, in this context, is like the antidote to that illusion. When you choose to trust, even just internally, you're saying, okay, despite appearances, despite what just happened, there's a shared reality here, a common ground.
So instead of seeing an attack from some totally separate person...
Right. You might start to see it as maybe a call for love or a mistake coming from someone who, at their core, is actually like you. They want peace, they want love, just like you do.
That shared motivation.
Yes. And that perspective, that recognition of shared being, it just dissolves the walls that resentment builds. Forgiveness becomes possible, maybe even natural, because the otherness barrier starts to fade.
So challenging that illusion of separation is key. By practicing trust, we're actively saying, no, we are connected.
You're tuning into that underlying unity, as you said earlier. It's a shift in perception.
And like you mentioned, it's not necessarily about blindly trusting someone's specific actions or personality, because, let's be honest, people can be unpredictable.
Very true. Behaviors can be inconsistent, hurtful even. The trust the Course is talking about goes deeper. It's trust in the shared essence, the holiness, as it calls it.
That shared light, like lamps powered by the same source, you said.
Exactly. The shades are different, the wattage might vary, but the electricity, the light source, is the same. Trusting our brothers means recognizing that light in them, even if their lampshade looks a bit dusty or cracked right now.
Okay, that makes sense. So if we embrace that, if we try to operate from that space of trust, how does that impact things like fear, anxiety, especially in our interactions?
Well, the lesson suggests it's pretty direct. When you consciously choose trust, instead of defaulting to judgment, suspicion, doubt, you approach people differently.
With more love, compassion.
Yes. Because if you genuinely believe deep down that this person is connected to you, shares that same divine spark, it's much harder to see them as a threat.
Right. The fear kind of loses its grip because you're starting from connection, not potential conflict.
The anxiety dials down because the perceived danger, rooted in separation, isn't seen as the primary reality anymore.
And this isn't just theory, right? The Course wants us to apply this practically.
Oh, absolutely. It's all about application. For instance, the idea of choosing faith over suspicion in daily interactions.
Can you give an example, like a really simple everyday one?
Sure. Let's take your email example from earlier. You email a colleague, no reply. Suspicion says, they're ignoring me, they're mad.
Right. The immediate negative assumption.
Choosing faith, in the Course's sense, means consciously pausing that reaction and thinking, okay, what else could be true? Maybe they're swamped. Maybe they didn't see it. Maybe something urgent came up. It's assuming positive or at least neutral intent until proven otherwise.
It's a mental shift, a choice.
A deliberate choice. And it extends to this concept of forgiving projections.
Okay, let's unpack projections a bit for someone maybe less familiar.
Good point. So projection, in simple terms, is when we take our own stuff, our fears, our judgments, our insecurities, and we kind of plaster it onto someone else.
We see it in them even though it's coming from us.
Exactly. And then we react to them based on what we projected. It's a common defense mechanism, but it really messes with relationships.
So how does trust help unwind that?
Well, if I'm projecting my own untrustworthiness onto you and then feeling suspicious of you, choosing to consciously trust you, to see your inherent goodness, forces me to pause and ask, wait, where is this suspicion really coming from? Is it actually about them, or is it about my own baggage?
So trust acts like a mirror, reflecting my own projections back to me.
In a way, yes. It interrupts the cycle. By affirming the good in the other, you create the space to see the shadow might actually be your own. It shifts the focus inward, towards self-awareness and taking responsibility for our own mind.
And that ties right back to recognizing that shared holiness, that divine spark.
It does. Because when you truly focus on that spark in everyone, it becomes much harder to sustain those negative projections. You're seeing beyond the screen where the projections play out.
And the lesson really emphasizes this connection, this unity, as a source of genuine safety. It's not just a nice idea. It's presented as, well, as fundamentally secure.
Yes, that's a key point.
Yeah.
The Course teaches that our true reality, our spiritual reality, is one of perfect safety and unity within God.
And the feeling of being unsafe comes from the illusion of separation.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Fear, vulnerability, these arise when we believe we're separate, alone, cut off from our source and from each other. So recognizing our unity with our brothers, seeing them as part of that same divine whole.
That automatically brings a sense of safety because you're not alone anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You realize you're part of a vast, interconnected reality that is inherently safe because it's grounded in God's love. It's not about ignoring worldly problems, but anchoring your core identity in that deeper, unshakable safety. Trusting your brother is trusting that shared safety.
Okay, let's talk about practical exercises maybe. How can we actively practice this trust, especially when conflict arises?
The Course suggests reflection. When you're in a disagreement, take a moment. Step back internally and consciously choose to trust the other person's underlying intention, even if their behavior seems off.
So try to look beyond the immediate conflict.
Yes. Ask yourself, what might be motivating them? Are they acting out of fear, misunderstanding? Are they, like me, ultimately seeking love and understanding, even if they're going about it badly?
Trying to see their perspective, their shared humanity.
Exactly. That effort to understand, fueled by a choice to trust their core goodness, can really pave the way for forgiveness. It shifts the energy from opposition to potential understanding.
And what about strengthening this feeling of unity more generally, not just in conflict?
Meditation or quiet reflection can be powerful here. Spending even a few minutes focusing on the idea of connection.
How would that look?
You could simply sit quietly and hold the thought, I am connected to everyone. Or visualize a light, maybe. Connecting your heart to the hearts of others, people you know, people you don't.
Reinforcing that sense of interconnectedness mentally.
Yes, just gently reinforcing that feeling, that awareness that separation isn't the final word. It helps deepen the experience of unity that Lesson 201 talks about.
So to reiterate, trusting our brothers in the context of this lesson is fundamentally about acknowledging that shared divine essence within each person.
Correct. It's seeing past the personality, past the mistakes, past the disagreements, to the core reality that the Course points to, that inherent goodness, that shared spiritual nature.
Which underscores why this lesson is so significant. It's constantly reminding us interconnectedness is essential. Separation is the illusion.
It really cuts to the heart of the Course's message about reality versus illusion.
And one last clarification, perhaps. This trust. It's not about being naive or ignoring warning signs in behavior, is it?
No, absolutely not. That's a common misconception. The Course isn't asking you to blindly trust someone who is consistently harmful or deceptive on a behavioral level. Practical discernment is still necessary in the world.
So what's the distinction?
The trust is on a deeper level. It's trust in their spiritual reality, their true self, which is one with yours and with God. You can trust that underlying reality while still setting healthy boundaries or taking practical precautions based on observed behavior.
So you can trust their spirit while not necessarily trusting their ego's current actions.
That's a good way to put it. You hold the vision of their true nature, their shared holiness, even if their current behavior doesn't reflect it. That inner stance of trust is what facilitates forgiveness and maintains your own peace, regardless of their actions.
Okay. That distinction is really important.
It keeps the trust grounded in spiritual reality, not dependent on the unpredictable world of form and behavior.
So as we wrap up our look at Lesson 201, I trust my brothers who are one with me. It really is a profound invitation, isn't it?
It is an invitation to shift perception.
To see beyond the surface, recognize the unity, and understand that trusting others is, in a way, trusting ourselves and trusting God.
Ultimately, yes. Because if we are all truly one, trusting your brother is trusting that oneness, which is inseparable from the divine.
It connects everything.
It does. Choosing to see through the eyes of trust, the eyes of unity, changes how we experience everything.
So maybe a question for you, listening, to reflect on. How can you cultivate deeper trust in your relationships today? How can you practice recognizing that we are all one in spirit, even when our differences seem really large?
A great question to sit with.
And just consider, how might consciously choosing trust, even in small moments, begin to shift your daily experiences, your perception of the people around you?
It's a powerful practice, a path towards peace.
Indeed. Well, thank you for digging into this with us.
My pleasure. Always insightful.
Until our next deep dive, may you find moments to practice that trust and feel that connection.